All right, and we are live. All right, welcome, family. Welcome back to another episode of Mosaic Entertainment Group presents. But today, going forward, I'm rebranding my show. All right, as you can see, I kind of changed up the background a little bit, and I'm going to be kind of changing it up from time to time. But this is the inaugural episode of The Lab with j.Shoulders. All right, so family, welcome to. It's still a Mosaic Entertainment Group presentation, but the name of the show is called The Lab with j.Shoulders. All right. So now that that's established, won't you do me a favor? Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Once again, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. That helps with the algorithms, that gets the show out there and notices go out there and things like that. So do that for me, family. I really appreciate that. Tonight, I have a special guest. Well, all my guests are special, but this is a special guest for me tonight. My brother, Archie Lee Words. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm good, bro. Glad you invited me on the show with you. I know you've been doing your show for a minute now, so I'm glad I might have the opportunity to be on your show with you.
Absolutely, man. It's just a matter of catching up, you know what I'm saying, energies and everything. And right now, we've been
Absolutely.
catching up, we working, we got things going. But, right now, I think is a good time, man, because you really been very busy around the town. So, family, if you don't know this man, I don't know where you've been hiding, but this guy right here is an excellent comedian. So he's been around the city, he's been doing this thing, family. So, Archie, let the family know what you've been doing lately and what you've been up to.
Um, uh, Actually, I'm glad you
First,
asked that. So I'm
first
Archie
introduce
Lee.
yourself. My
First of all, I'm Archie Lee. Stage name Archie Lee. Archie Words is the government official, but I figured at this point, Archie Words is it's unorthodox, so might as well keep
It
using it.
works, man.
No,
It
I'm
sticks,
about
man.
to
It
change
works.
the name.
It
Yeah.
works.
Other than that, though, man, I started comedy out here 10 years ago. Been doing it ever since. But I really love like the hosting part of comedy as well. You know what I mean? It's almost like I get to bring people into our world as comics and get to bring people into the show. Whatever I'm hosting, I get to bring them into the event and make sure they have a good time. It's my job to keep them here, especially if it's in entertainment as well. And then also like me and you talked about, man, just want to start working on since the pandemic, it's allowed us to sit down and actually see what other talents and other gifts that I may have. So one of the things I've been wanting to work on more this year in the last 2 years, that is my writing, the ability to write a script or the ability to write a short or just in general, just ability to write and put more projects out like that. I think when it comes to comics, you get put in a box, oh, you just funny. But I wanted to be more than that, so I wanted to stretch it out a little bit and start learning to do a little bit more in that as well. And then also, in the pandemic, I started doing what's called living rooms got talent. Um, and
Yeah,
all it is,
tell us a
it
little
just
more about that. Tell us a little more about that. Was
uh,
that
so
because, well, was it a pandemic? So at the time, you couldn't go out and hit stage and perform, so
yeah,
you kind
yeah.
of improvised? Is that what it
It's
is?
actually two things. It was like, oh, I'm gonna do living rooms got talent. We on the pandemic, but then it was also one of the things like, okay, my kids want to perform with me, but I can't take them in the clubs. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So that
Yeah.
was one of the things when I
Usually,
did the yeah. So that was their way to perform. And my kids, and then not, I know most people probably say this about their kids, but I believe my kids are like super talented. Like I've never seen kids be able to do a set so young and actually make it work for them at their age. So, and they do a good job of
oh,
keeping their
really?
mom laughing and keeping everybody laughing. So my kids, they'll have you in believing that they've been here before, especially the 2-year-old. But but uh
No.
but yeah, man,
Okay.
I just love having a good time with my people when I'm together with my family or when I'm together with what I'm saying, when we together just having a good time or cookout or something like that. So that's pretty much what I wanted, just what I've been up to, you know what I mean? So I can push the envelope. And in case the people don't know, we finished one of the scripts. You helped me complete that. We presented it to a
Yes,
group. They
sir.
actually liked it. So it's coming along. I want to get that finished and actually put that out there. Even if I could just get it done, not even if, when I get that done, I want the people to see it. I believe
Right.
it's something good for them. That's pretty much what I want to do. Just make sure I can start putting out projects and making them work and being so people can see it in the community that it's talent here, not just in Hollywood or wherever else.
Right. So it's more than just being a comedian. You're actually kind of stretching yourself
Hmm.
and going beyond, kind of doing what's necessary, really, because in order to shop yourself as an artist, you got to kind of be multifaceted in this day and age. So, you go from the stage to content creation to writing to directing and acting. That's another
Yeah.
thing. You know what I'm saying? I see you as in I've seen you perform live, of course. And I see you as kind of multifaceted, man. You're more than just a comedian. You're an entertainer. You're more than just a
Hmm.
comedian, you're an
Hmm.
actual entertainer. And you can tell when people are not sincere about what they do, who are trying to just get a bag, I guess, as they say nowadays. They're just trying to get a bag. But I could tell, man. I mean, you've done this for nothing. You've done this for free. I've worked with you where we actually put together a show. You know what I mean? And we could talk about that a little later.
Yeah.
But so comedy. Why? So in essence, you're more than just a comedian. That's what I was trying to say. You're an overall entertainer.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
let me ask you, why did you even start it? Why comedy? What was it about you said, hey, let me try this. Let me try this stand-up thing. Let me see how this works.
Here's the thing about comedy that people need to know that when I first started doing comedy, I started doing comedy. I feel like I've been doing it forever. You know what I mean? And as when I say that, I mean you with your parents and your parents get up and go do that thing you do. It's like yeah.
Right.
So it was one
You'll
of the
dance
things, but
around it.
yeah. But what pushed me into it even more, coming from a church background, I was with a group called Crusaders for Christ for a while, and then when I was with Crusaders for Christ, we had a concert, and in between the setting up of the different choirs and different groups, it was just like dead silence. And so the guy who
Mm,
put me in, his name is Robbie Chris. He was like, "Look, I just need you to get out there and do a couple of impressions, keep the people entertained. Can you do that for me?" I was like, "Man, yeah, you my dog, And at first I was hesitant. I'm like, but I only do that kind of stuff when it's just us. We fat, we boys. Yeah. He's like, bro, I know you can
right.
do it. And so I got to doing that. And I was like, you know what? I can really do this. This is something I like doing it. And then I have the opportunity to do some other stuff. In Illinois, they have this what's called Black Arts Festival. And I was asked to do some stuff for that. And then it was like the gospel festival. I was asked to do something like that. So the more I started doing it, I'm like, I can do this. You know what I mean? But
Right.
but this was so
All right.
they had some comics come in one time, and a friend of mine, my wife's best friend, her sister, my wife's best friend's sister, and they was like, "Man, we went to that thing. You could have been funnier than some of them people on that." I was like, "Don't tell me that. You'll bump my head up." That's pretty much what it is. So man, so I
Right.
started doing more and more of that type of stuff when I was back home. So when I moved out here in Arizona, I was like, let me just give it a go. You know what I mean? And so my first show
Right.
was actually, and I did my first show off of a suggestion. My cousin told somebody about me. My lady named Bizzle. She runs the build. She got a building on Central. Her name is Ava. Shouts out to Ava
Oh
again.
yeah.
Ava was like, she was like, I just need you to do 5 minutes. Now keep in mind, she ain't never seen me. This is early YouTube, so I hadn't had nothing on YouTube and nothing. She was like, if you can just give me 5 minutes, that's all I need. I'm like, say no more, okay? And I did that. And so when I did it, that was like literally my second month here. So she gave me the
Wow.
opportunity to do it, man. I try to take advantage of it, you know what I'm saying? So but I failed a couple of times. I failed at it because I was trying, my wife would always say, stop trying to be a comic. And I was like, dang, what you talking about? That's what this is. But when I realized what
Right.
she was saying, it's actually been helping me more and more. When it's more like be yourself and just be yourself and watch it work more for you.
Right. Well, you kind of give me the impression that you were like the class clown. You know what I'm saying? Growing up,
I
you was like
was
the one
actually.
that, yeah, you was the one always getting in trouble because you got always had something to say, or you was being funny, and you getting other people in trouble because You making them laugh. So I grew up with a lot of guys like you, man. Just not everybody
Listen,
had the kind of courage like on the stage and
I just
kind of
knew how to do it. I just knew how to do it while I wouldn't get in trouble.
right, right. Well, you mean you come from, family don't know, he come from Chicago. So it's like, you talking, and being from New York, you talking to, two different meccas of different types, man, who
Hmm.
produce, all kinds of, talented people, especially the Midwest. You know what I mean? A lot of writers and comedians come out of the Midwest. And a lot of actors come out of the East Coast more so. So I've kind of noticed that over my years in this. So that's how you kind of got your start in comedy. You got your feet wet, you fell in love, and you started doing it, especially when you landed here. When did you decide? You know what? It's time for me to actually let me take it back. I want to take it back. So you said something about church.
Hmm. Hmm.
All right. So that's your background. All right. So
Right.
how do you balance and because I know you, the audience doesn't, is that something that you continue to, is church still, gospels and all that stuff, is that still
Oh yeah,
in
I
your
still,
life,
yeah,
part of your
that's
comedy?
still, yeah, that's still like so. Growing up in church, that's still a part of my life. That's still part of what, when I grew up, that's still part of what I've been doing and I've done. Like every year, except during the pandemic, I've been at church on New Year's Eve.
Mm.
Close out the year on church, start the year in church. You know what I
Uh,
mean? So I think
you
I've
was one of
missed.
those.
I think I haven't gone in probably three times the whole. That was it. Three times in the 41 years of my living. That's it. Um,
Wow.
and then the other part, what the other thing was, um, so I didn't change anything. So I figured that I would still be who I am, even if I do comedy in a club. I just don't say words that some of the other people say. You know what I mean? Or I don't say some of the jokes that some of the other people say. So I try to make sure that my material is still good enough to work, whether I'm in church or I'm in the comedy club. And like I said, church is still part of our life anyway. Me and my wife, we pray, when some you know how people say, just pray for me. Like me and my wife,
Right.
literally, we'll pray for somebody. We don't like one of the things
I do.
you know how you go online, somebody like, oh, I'll just keep you in my prayers. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff mean a lot. You know what I mean? So me and my wife still doing it. You know, that's some of the stuff that we haven't really been as tough on our kids as we were
Mm.
tough on like people was tough on us with it, but we still want to make sure we introduce that to our children and our grandchildren.
That's beautiful, man. It's beautiful.
Hmm.
And speaking of prayers, spirituality is really important to me as well, and it grounds me and it keeps me, focused. The more, the closer I get, to that destination, so to speak. Um, we recently lost a friend of ours,
Hmm.
due to this terrible pandemic, this thing that's going around right now. Um, we both were at the drive-by memorial for the brother. We both knew
Hmm.
him, both worked with him. I was on his podcast, and you've actually worked a little more intimately with him the years at SDR at Support District Radio,
Hmm.
where I got my start in this arena here. Um, Tell me about that, man. How has that affected you? This is, has this COVID thing affected your family in any kind of way?
We actually
And how are your kids and everything, man? How y'all dealing with this?
So here's the thing: we actually got COVID back in June, but
Wow.
we didn't realize because we didn't go anywhere. We didn't really go anywhere. We didn't realize that we had it until because we wasn't paying. We wasn't thinking. It wasn't not that we wasn't scared of it or we wasn't worried about it. We just the symptoms that we had would it didn't. It was so like what where did we how did we even you know what I mean, but
Right,
in the
right.
process of that, so we when we found out we had it, it was the simplest thing, and we couldn't smell nothing, and then
Mm,
didn't dawn on us, you know what I mean. You cook every day, you don't think nothing
mm,
about it because you so used to the smells of fried chicken or corn, cooking, you know what I mean,
Right,
whatever.
right,
So my wife says, it smells like Thanksgiving in here. I was like, no, it don't. And then the thing about it, it didn't dawn on me. And then my son, she had said something to my son, and he was like, I don't smell it. So we was like, I think we got COVID. We set something up when it took our test. And even when we took our test, we had already been quarantined. So we took our test and we ain't really go nowhere. So we kind of stayed to ourselves. We didn't go nowhere. Most we went to was the store back home, but we ain't go nowhere. But so we just quarantined together because it was almost like we all got it at the same time anyway. So we quarantined together. We stayed in. We ain't go nowhere. My wife found some all natural remedies and stuff that we was trying to make sure we do in the process of everything so we can keep because we was hearing the stories about it. So and that was one of the things. So when the associate of ours who passed away, and it didn't dawn on me like it was like, oh, I see him on Facebook one day saying give all praises to God, all praises to the Most
yeah,
High, and then the next day I see them like, what just happened? You know what I mean? So it's one of those
yes,
things where you're like you can't take for granted nothing. You know what I mean? And I had talked. Matter of fact, I had just done a sketch on his project, on his music project. So
wow,
that's how crazy the timing was, and that's how I would. So yeah, I've worked with him on several things. You know what I mean? One of the things I talk about is when I was hosting the red carpet event, him and his wife came. He didn't have his tie on. I mean, you can't come out here with the tie on, Moon. Let me fix the tie for you, brother. You know what I mean? He put it on his YouTube. So it was it hurts. It hurts, man, to see somebody young.
yeah,
And
man.
so and he was a good guy too. You know, anybody that met him would say he was a good guy. So it makes you put stuff in perspective as well, like get your health together and everything. So that was one of the things that shook us. You know, it shook me about it. I want to make sure that we can be healthy. I know I'm not the healthiest, but I want to make sure that we find out what we need to do to stay healthy or how to beat this without letting them pump more junk in our body.
Absolutely, man. And that's something that it puts things in perspective, bro.
Mm-hmm.
It really does, because he was only 33 years old. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Young guy. You know
Yep.
what I mean? And at the age I am, I'm having a hard time remembering when I did at 33. So I'm like, I feel blessed to still be, what I'm saying, still be here and, have, luckily not have had any exposure, to this thing. But, it puts life in perspective, man. And I brought that up because I know, comedy, one of the things I've learned about comedy is that is the truth, wrapped up in, you know, jokes, you know what I mean? And you always
Mm-hmm.
some kind of element there that gets the audience to think, that gets people's minds going, and it's some kind of truth, but then it's wrapped up in something, so it makes it more digestible.
It
So
does.
when you look back on last year, okay, when you look back on the last year, um, there's a lot of material there. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And even though some people would look at it as, oh, it was a tragic year, and it was. It was a lot that went on, but these are we're in a continuum right now. So the events are tragic in itself, but so do you ever, if you look back on 2020, do you see yourself pulling from some of the events of the year and throwing some of that into your comedy?
Absolutely. That's so the one of the things is that I was laughing. I was on Clubhouse and somebody asked about doing COVID jokes. There's like, well, if you do a COVID joke, you got to make sure the COVID joke go over well because everybody gonna have them. So I tried to
Mm,
steer away from those, you know what I mean? But so if I do point something out at it, it's just be real quick. I don't linger there. But most of the stuff I try to make
mm,
sure that I talk about. Like I said, you talk about, your the truest things that happen to you. Like if I told somebody what happened at a funeral 2 years ago, you'll be like, no, that didn't. Yeah, yes, it did. You know what I mean? Or it probably won't think it's funny at the time, but when I look back at it, I'm like, that was pretty funny. Even though it was at a funeral, that was
right,
pretty funny. You know what I mean?
right.
And that's pretty much how it is. You just take that material, and the best way to do it is you work it, and you try to work at it to try to make it something that's gonna pop or that's gonna go over well. We're both and we don't live in so in Arizona. We live in Arizona where it's a mix. It's not all black you go in the comedy
Right.
club, it's not a black comedy club. You know what I mean? So
Right.
you have to deal with the Hispanic community, the white community, things like that. So you got to be able to make sure your jokes relate to everybody that's in that crowd.
Now I'm sure that's a challenge. So what's your process like? What do you just take the temperature of the room? Do you kind of just observe?
Remember when I told you this? Remember I told you it's up to that host. If that host don't get them people involved, going on that stage after
Right.
that is gonna be hard. You gotta make that host gotta make sure that if he get that crowd into the show, knowing that this is the kind of crowd we got. We got a crowd that likes sports. We got a crowd that like politics. We got a crowd that do this. Because if you throwing if the host throw out a political joke and he goes well, then he's like, okay, I got some political jokes too. Let me go there. Or if they talk about kids or relationships, all right, we got a crowd with relationships, and we can do that as well. So yeah, I try to. It's hard, but I try to make sure that that I do have something that is relatable.
Right, right. Plus, being the host, it kind of takes the pressure off of having to carry, an entire show by doing it by yourself. One of
Yeah,
those
yeah.
specials, hint, 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 that I've been trying to, that I've been trying to get my brother to do, just because I believe, man, in your talent, man. I think, and like you said, man, even though we come from different places, a lot of us are from the Midwest, a lot of us are from LA, a lot of us are from, the East Coast, and this, in Phoenix has become kind of a almost a melting pot of different types of black sensibilities. And I hate to use the word culture because it's like we don't really have a culture, what I mean? But not here. But it's just the way how we carry ourselves. So we all coming together from these different places, man. So, some of us have different ideas of what's funny. Some of us don't, what I mean? So I'm sure that's like a real challenge, but there's a lot of talent here, man. There's a lot of talent out here. And I don't think people are aware. It's one of the reasons why I created the show, because I wanted to show, what I'm saying, the world, like there's this talent in Phoenix, especially in Black Phoenix. You know what I'm saying? You got to, people say there's nothing to do here, blah, blah, blah. How many have you performed in the last 2 weeks, brother?
Oh, I think I've done maybe four shows, maybe 4 or 5 in 2 weeks.
Four. Four
Yeah.
or five in
So
2 weeks. Okay. So
yeah,
there's plenty to do out here. You're getting to see, that's just on that scale. You know what I mean? You
and
and
that's
I know we've been in the scene for a while.
it's one of
You know
those
what I mean?
things where it's one of those things where, so when you look at somebody that come from New York, where it's a busy state or a bit, you know what I mean, like coming from Chicago, that's a busy city and things like that. But when they come here, it looks ain't nothing to do here. But if you for somebody that's supposed to be in a pandemic, Arizona has had a lot of events happening in that time frame. I was like, I
Oh,
thought we were supposed to be in a pandemic.
man,
So
and
yeah,
you would never think it looking out here, man. You would never think it. Pandemic, what? People doing everything. Everything is crowded. Nobody's in their homes.
nobody's and the thing about it is, like, I know like one of the guys, he has a business. It's a lounge, you know what I mean, and he got something going on even now, yeah, his crowd is kept to a minimum, but he still it's something still going on.
Right, right. All right, man. So let's switch gears a little bit. On this show, The Lab, I kind of get there sometimes, man. I like to go a little deep, you know what I'm saying? Because we are more than what, we present to the world as far as our gifts, our talents, our abilities. You know what I'm saying? We're also human beings. You know what I'm saying? You're a husband, you're a father, you know what I mean? Like, and going back over the events of the last year, um, and like you said, what, you're 41, so you're not too far off from me. So you've been around since the 80s. You have that consciousness of the 80s. Um, Now that you're a dad and your sons are becoming young men, um, what kinds of discussions have you had with them, man, regarding, say, example of George Floyd or Breonna Taylor, you know what I'm saying, or
uh
Ahmaud Arbery,
yeah, one
Jake
day,
Clay.
right after George Floyd, right after the George Floyd thing, It was 'cause my boys are 15 and 12. But after the George Floyd situation, I was sitting at home. I couldn't think of how to explain to them or put into details what was happening. I was trying. I didn't have the best advice. You know, and my I'm terrible with some advice sometimes when it comes because I don't know the right. Now I mess around and say something that ain't right, so I was
Right.
trying to figure out what to do. My sons was asking questions, and I was trying to, just trying to explain to them that this is what society has given us, or what we have to live, how we are to live. No, not like almost walking on eggshells. I was trying to explain it to them, couldn't explain it to them. I took them to the march.
Right.
I took them to one of the marches. I didn't go like the first 2 days. I went down there though, and to see them, they was asking questions, talking to people about it. Matter of fact, we had just pulled up out there, and we started walking. We probably was 2 miles in, and the news team pulled me and my boys over to start talking to us. I'm like, you gonna ask us, and we just got out here. We don't know. You know what I mean? In my time that I grew up, because I grew up in Chicago, where the city where we were, it was blacks. There was a sprinkle of whites, but you know what I mean. I grew up in the crime scene of just crime, drugs and crime. You know what I mean. I didn't see the police killing as I do now. You know what I mean. So trying to explain that to my sons has been hard. You know what I mean. So we discussed my wife, and I give praise to my wife, because my wife gave me a lot of. My wife was like, look, we can this is what we can tell them. You know what I mean? My wife don't sugarcoat. We say things as if they understand it. We make sure they understand. You understand what we're saying, right? This is what it is, or you know what I mean. So my wife is always right there when it's time to give some advice, and she helps me out pretty much when it comes to it. You know what I mean? Because I do want to make sure that my sons aren't killed in the car because they didn't have their hands on the steering wheel. Those are things that I talk to them about
Right.
that. But I also take my sons to the gun range. Like they got weapons. We are allowed to use weapons. You know what I mean? Or this is what you need to do. So it's a lot of balance, but it's like always trying to find the right words to say without making them scared per se. You know what I mean? Because I don't
Right.
want them to
Right.
fear. You know what I mean? Now my little one, he gonna go outside. If I tell him people coming over here to kill us, he probably will go outside until they come and kill us.
Right.
Because because for him, he is a loving person. Everybody deserves a hug or a love. So it's a
Right.
task for everybody. But my wife, like I said, my wife is pretty much my rock, man, when it comes to it. She try to make sure that, and she'll tell me too. I think you need to explain this to the boys, and I was like, oh, I don't want to do it. You know what I mean? So we watched, and with them here, we watched. It's the new one, American Skin. They
Yeah.
was with us watching
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So little
Uh-huh.
stuff like that, you know what I mean? Because sometimes they see it visually, they'll understand too. And like I told you earlier, my kids are pretty much they're pretty smart. So it's been, like I said, it's been one of the hardest things to have to teach. Like I said, to the generation that's their age, like the 15s and the 13-year olds. So they understand though, and I try to make sure they know that. And like we tell my son all the time, don't just go to the store. Like, don't just go to Circle
Mhm.
K. Wait, like tell us. So because we don't know what's happening. You
Right.
know, I mean, you might see something on Facebook. You got some people standing on floor in the corner with Nazi flags or whatever, or Confederate flags. We don't know. Like, be careful. Like, let me go with you. Let me take you. So that's been the hardest thing though. Trying to give the right advice per se without making them scared. And I think that's the one thing is you don't want to make them scared to live, if that makes sense.
All right. There you go. There you go. We back. All right. We back. We back. All right. So pick up on your point.
What'd you leave off at?
You were talking about the difficulty in having the discussion with your
Oh,
boys, and
um,
how your wife
yeah,
is
just
helping you balance that out.
it's just having that difficult. Like I said, it was just having that conversation with them without making them scared. That's just the main thing though, because I don't want them to be scared to do anything. I don't want them to be scared to live and just enjoy their life. And so that's one of the things that I've been able to. That's one of the things that we try to make sure that they can come and tell us anything, so we can make sure we talk it out.
Yeah,
And that's it.
yeah. I mean, that's hard, man. Because how do you, you know, first of all, we're not even supposed to be having this discussion. You know what I'm saying? Like so called, right after the civil rights era, because my mother was, raised up at that time. So we're the children of, you know, the civil rights era. So we're at this point with our kids. I mean, the millennials are having kids, so we're grandparents at this age. You know what I'm saying? We're not supposed to be speaking to the second or third generation after the civil rights movement about the same discussions we were having since 1875. You know what I'm saying? I won't even take it. No, 1875. You know what I'm saying? Watch out for this. Watch out for that. Don't say this. Don't go here. Be careful there. I mean, and they had no protection. I mean, there was nothing to just walk up me or you, slap us in our face, and there's nothing we could do about it. You know what I'm saying? Our woman being grabbed up on the street, nothing we could do about it. So,
Hmm.
our grandparents and great grandparents had to live up under that fear, but we still managed to rise. So it's like my kids are a little older, so they're a little more, they're able to kind of comprehend and kind of see, plus, I kind of raised them a certain way, so they already have kind of this, you know, not attitude, but already have an eye on what's going on, so they're not easily, you
I'm
know,
glad you said attitude.
yeah. I mean, it's just a way of seeing the world, because of how I raised them, what I've been doing with them since, I've been in my early 20s. You know what I mean? I've had a certain perception of the world, and it's never just as a man. It's never just as a person. We don't have that luxury. It's
He
as
said
a black man.
the one thing
That's
our
the first
kids
thing.
have, one thing our kids have is social media, and they have internet. And my boys will see stuff,
Yeah.
and they'll come and be like, "Did y'all see this?" You know what I mean? So my kids, they it's they be on the phone and they see stuff come across, so they may read it. My oldest one to read something and be like, "I don't know what this is." You know what I mean? And he'll ask us questions. They'll ask questions.
So they're a little more engaged now because they have the information. Everything is at
Hmm.
the touch of a
Hmm.
button. When we were teenagers, we weren't as engaged, so the world didn't seem, what I'm saying, so big. We knew things were going on, but we didn't, especially in the 80s, because we didn't have access to, we didn't have, our YouTube was, I mean, our what Facebook or
Yeah,
whatever, our cell phones was a library. You know what I'm saying? Our, we had to go to the library if we wanted,
yeah,
to look up a book. So our
yeah.
Google, that's what I was trying to say. Our Google was the
Was the
library.
Dewey
You know
Decimal
what I
System.
mean? And
You-
actually, yeah, you doing this. You know what I'm saying? And our computers had printing paper that was, this wide and had dots on the sides, and you had to rip the paper off and reload the whole, it was a whole different world, you know what I'm saying?
Man,
And
don't show our age.
so their
I learned how
access
to
to
type on a
information,
typewriter.
man, I won't even go there. I won't even go there. I won't even go there. I don't even go there. I was making cassettes. I was making mixtapes with cassette players. Pause and stop. Pause, stop, record, pause,
Put
stop.
the tissue in the thing.
Yep. Put tissue in there, squeeze over. Yep. All that, man. So, today everything is a push of a button, man. So that access to that instant access to that information, man, they have no choice but to be engaged, really. I mean, at this point, you could choose to clock out, right? You can choose to clock out. But because everything is so much in your face and everything, the access is just so immediate. Um, how do we keep our kids safe? You know what I mean? How do we continue to do what we're doing as husbands and fathers, which is strive to be better men, strive to be better fathers, strive to be better husbands, providers, chase our dreams and make sure we're on point with our goals, while at the same time nurturing our children, making sure that we're giving them the right cover, the right protection. So when we're not around, you know, are they okay? Are they safe? You know what I mean? So that's something that our, community in particular, I don't think any other community out there has that type of worry where this is generational. You know what I'm saying? You just said you came from a neighborhood of drugs and crime. So did I, and we're talking, in the 80s. So, you know what I'm saying? 30, 40 years ago.
Oh
And we're
man.
having the same discussion. You know what I'm saying? That our parents were having 50, 60 years ago.
Right.
So as a father, and how I look at that and I'm like, man, we continuing in this line. We continuing in this line. And yet, our kids are looking at us like, what do we do? You know what I mean? So even that I see can be put into your comedy, you know what I mean? Because it's real life. That's where we are right now.
Well, one of the things that I was looking at too is where I grew up. It was a solid black community. Whereas one of the things about living here that I enjoy, that I like is the diversity that my sons get to be a part of every day. You know what I mean? And yes, I
Mm-hmm.
don't want them to forget where they come from or their culture, but I also want them to be more um more open to learn other cultures as well.
So well rounded. You want them to be well
Yeah,
rounded. You want to
absolutely.
be well rounded. So you got any girls? You got any
Well,
girls?
well,
Any
my
daughters?
yeah, my older two are grown. They in college, about to have their own kid. My oldest one is finna have her kid. She finna get married. Then my second oldest, she is in the process of just getting her college. She was working on her music and going to college. And then of course my baby girl, she too. You know what I mean? So each is that's raising them different as well too. You know what I mean? I gotta raise the boys to think this way. I gotta raise the boys to be responsible to when they get older. I gotta raise the boys to be Can you hear me? Shoulders, can you hear me?
Yep. Yep. Yeah. All right. Your sound is out. Your sound is out. Let's see. Yeah. You on mute. Yeah. Just unmute yourself. So it should be now. Can you hear me? Good. Nope. Hear me, but I can't hear you. All right, family. Well, he had to log out and log back in real quick. So as you can see, even with comedy, out of tragedy and out of drama comes comedy. All right. So we, even though we can look at this past year and say, okay, things were bad, things were this way, things were that way, never forget that there's always something to smile about. There's always light. There's always sunshine. All right. Hear my brother come back. Hear my brother back. Can you hear me?
I hear you, bro. I had to leave the
All
app. Can you
right.
hear
Good
me?
to go. Yep, yep. No, it's fine. I was going to suggest that you log out and come back in. Yeah, your sound just cut out. And I was just telling the audience the importance of understanding that despite the tragedy or what you would consider tragedies from last year, there's always something to smile about.
Yeah.
You know what I
So, and
mean?
that was one of
There's
the things.
there's
Like I
always
was,
something to laugh about.
I didn't want to get depressed in that time. So when my daughter
Right.
told us she was pregnant, it would just became a uplifting thing. Then she got the opportunity to tell me she was when she told me she was getting married, it was another big thing. So it was like, ah, okay, yeah, we do have something to smile about, you know what I mean? So it ain't all that bad, you know
Yep.
what I mean? So I was, and so that's one of our things that we've been working on anyway. I told my wife, I said, if anything, we should always be able to smile because it's something different. You know, my wife finished her degree during this pandemic, you know what I mean? So, so,
Right. Right.
so it's a
You
lot
know
to be
what?
happy for.
We do our best, man, when things are really not looking so good, you know. But when you have, like I said, that spiritual grounding, you can see beyond that, man, and you just don't stop. You know what I mean? And you know, and you raise your children the best way you can, and you do what you can do. You know, and
Hmm.
that's
Hmm.
just the bottom line. That's just the bottom line. So, all right, brother Archie, tell my audience where they can find you. What have you been up to lately? What you got coming up next?
First of
Oh,
all,
and you're on Clubhouse too. Tell them where they can find you on Clubhouse.
I haven't done my own room yet on Clubhouse, but I'm getting there. First of all, thank you for having me once again, bruh. I know this is some,
Absolutely.
I come from the podcast game, so so
Yep.
I'm on my way back to it. I just got to get this in order first. But I will
Come
be
on
starting
back.
up.
Come on back.
I will be starting up a podcast with my wife called A Couple of Words. That'll be coming out real soon. That's just me and her. It's a play on words and everything like that. But anyway, you can catch me there. And then you can find me on you can also find me on social media. It's Arch_Lee 2. And that's Instagram. And my name on Facebook is Archie Words. I'm not gonna change it. And my goal this year and the next month or so is I want to put together Archie and Friends, a smaller version. Even if I have to sell two different shows, I want to do Archie and Friends that way. But I'm also looking into doing another project on the Archie and Friends, but not doing the comedy part of it as well. So that's be locked in for that. That's gonna be good. And
Man,
then
correct.
I'm working on scripts for this year, man. I got so like I said, I got so many ideas and I'm like, I gotta finish it. So my goal or my thing for this year is the year of execution. I wrote that on my dry erase board. It's the year of execution. So my goal is to try to execute some ideas, every at least two ideas a month. And other than that, man, I'm just trying to stay prayerful, and keep my family guarded and become the best father, mentor, husband, brother, whatever you want to be in this year. That's my biggest thing. So that's my goal. So look me up on social media. Follow me on Arch_Lee 2 or Archie Words on Facebook. I promise you, I'm not dirty. You might like it.
Yeah, you might like it. You might like it, fam.
You
All
might
right, man. I
like
appreciate it. I appreciate it, man. Yeah. You might like it, fam. Nah, man. Hey, Archie, I appreciate you, brother, man. Of course, it's always a pleasure speaking with you.
it.
Yeah, we could tell him, you know, catch his brother on Clubhouse too. He's, you know, on the table reads and stuff, man.
Man,
People, yeah, everybody's on
listen.
Clubhouse now, so you can find his
I
brother.
man, I just
Um,
want to start one
uh,
room just for 30 minutes. Just do a small room and
hey,
be
just
done.
started.
I just got to figure
Just
out a good
started,
time to
man.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's going on right now. My phone's constantly going on. That's why I'm constantly looking down because it's another club app alert. But yeah, man, thank you very much for coming on my show, brother. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you for taking the time from your family and whatnot, man. And thanks for letting the audience know where they can find you. Once again, family, I want to just give a digital round of applause, a thumbs up, some love to my brother Archie Words. All right. Thank you very much for
Thanks,
coming
bro.
on my show. And like I said, it's always a pleasure, man. And we got some work coming up. So family, get used to this face. Get used to this face because you're gonna be seeing this face a lot. And if I have to say so myself, you know what I mean. So more coming on that later. All right, family. This has been an episode of the Lab with j.Shoulders. I thank you once again for coming on, brother Archie. I thank my family for watching. Thanks for the support. Once again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that share button. I'm also on Facebook, on Instagram, all Mosaic Entertainment Group and the Lab with j.Shoulders. All right. Thanks, family. Have a great night, Archie. And I'll be talking to you real soon, brother. All right.
All right, bro. Thank you.
Have a good one. All right. Peace.